So we're looking to weaken the argument. And the argument is that this information shows that felines were domesticated around the time farming began, when they would have been useful in protecting stores of grain from mice. Okay, the back half of that, like the when they would have been useful in protecting grains, that's like an explanation for why they would have been domesticated. But the real argument is felines were domesticated around the time farming began. Now, if we had something that showed they were domesticated way earlier than that, like before farming began, that would be useful because that would disprove that argument. Or if we found out that, this doesn't show a reason why they were domesticated, that would also weaken the argument. Now, the argument as it was laid out brings up the date 9,500 years ago, but it never says when farming started. So I don't really understand how we'd make some sort of an argument about the timing unless they brought it in the answer choice. But it seems like we're mainly focused on the domestication aspect of it. So they're arguing that felines were domesticated. Answer choice A, I wrote a little quote here. Absence of proof is not proof of absence. Okay, so the fact that something doesn't exist doesn't prove that it doesn't exist. The fact that you haven't found evidence doesn't mean that evidence doesn't exist. The fact that archaeologists have not found any remains of stores of grain doesn't mean that they aren't there and haven't been found yet, first of all. Second of all, I don't think I require it because it doesn't disprove that the felines were domesticated around that time period, because they never says they were domesticated for farming. It gives that as like an example of why they would have been relevant, but it says they were domesticated around the time of farming. And this wouldn't disprove that in any way, because it could have been that they were still domesticated during that time. Answer choice B and C are completely irrelevant to me. The burial site being substantially older than any other burial site, well, it's still a burial site, so now it's the oldest one, and I think it shows like a date that's relevant now. Like this is the first time that they were domesticated probably. I think if anything, it probably actually strengthens rather than weakens, but B's out for me on that. C, paintings found near the site show them as domestic companions. That like sounds pretty strong to me in terms of strengthening rather than weakening like we want it to. They don't show them hunting mice. Well, it's the same as in answer choice A. Absence of proof is not proof of absence. Like doesn't mean that just because you don't see a picture of them hunting mice that they didn't hunt mice. It doesn't show a picture of them like definitively never hunting mice, right? So answer choice E, I thought the language was too strong here. Before felines were domesticated, early farmers had no effective way to protect stores of grain from mice. Does that really, like, is that going to weaken it? So does that weaken the idea that felines were domesticated around the time that farming began? I think it actually strengthens it, because if they had no way to protect their stores from their stores of grain from mice, it explains why they would have domesticated the cats. But that's kind of already been given to us, and I don't want to strengthen, I want to weaken. Answer choice D weakens it. It shows a reason why the evidence is not good evidence. So the evidence is bad, and that weakens the conclusion. So the fact that there are other wild animals, so AKA not domesticated, buried alongside human beings, means that the evidence of a cat being buried alongside of a human being does not mean that the cat was domesticated, because there's evidence of wild animals being buried with humans, so maybe the cat was wild. And for that reason, answer choice D weakens the conclusion, and that is our answer choice.